What if I told you an 18-year-old just walked into an NBA game, dropped 49 points, and somehow that still isn't the most interesting part? Cooper Flagg just went off for 49 points, 10 rebounds, and 3 assists on 20 for 29 shooting in a 123-121 loss against the Hornets, setting the NBA record for most points ever scored by a teenager. What really stands out watching Cooper Flagg right now is how routine this level of production already feels. This February alone, he's sitting at over 27 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists per game, turning in the kind of nightly production you usually only see from a team's primary option. Over the last couple of months, he's been proving he was meant to go first overall, and he's putting together the kind of stretch that feels like a historic Rookie of the Year campaign taking shape. This is the version of Cooper Flagg people around the league were worried about long before he played an NBA minute. A teenager big enough to guard up, skilled enough to fuel an offense, and confident enough to take over crunch time without blinking. In this video, we're going to look at how he got here this fast, what the numbers say about his impact, and why, for a lot of teams, this is exactly the type of rookie they were afraid might actually show up and live up to the hype.
Zoom Diallo living up to his name. Flagg, though, with the takeaway. And clear the runway for Cooper Flagg.
Before Cooper Flagg ever touched an NBA court, there was already a growing sense that teams were looking at something unusual. At Montverde and on the Nike EYBL circuit, especially at Peach Jam, he was putting up absurd numbers: 25.4 points, 13 rebounds, 6.9 blocks, and 5.7 assists per game, functioning as a complete system all by himself on both ends of the floor. Then he reclassified, went to Duke a year early, and instead of looking overmatched as a young freshman, he dominated college basketball. He led a number 1 ranked Duke team in points, rebounds, assists, and steals, broke the program and ACC freshman single-game scoring records with 42 points against Notre Dame, and finished the year sweeping major awards including the Naismith Trophy and AP Player of the Year as a first-year player. That kind of profile, the youngest player in NCAA history with a 40-point game, best player on one of the best teams, and consensus National Player of the Year, went a long way toward proving that his high school dominance wasn't just a product of weaker competition. Scouting reports reflected that jump. At 6'9" with plus length, he came into the draft labeled a good defender with rare instincts, timing and ground coverage, capable of protecting the rim and sliding with wings, while also rebounding at a high level. Offensively, evaluators pointed to his passing vision, point forward potential, advanced shot making from 3 levels, and a jumper that already looked smooth enough to build on, painting a picture of a modern do-everything forward rather than a raw project. In conference play at Duke, he joined a minuscule group of freshmen over the last 25 years to average at least 20 points per game on 50% from the field and 40% from 3, putting his name next to Kevin Durant in that statistical neighborhood and giving front offices one more reason to treat him like a different kind of prospect.
With the first pick in the 2025 NBA Draft, the Dallas Mavericks select Cooper Flagg from Duke University.
Draft night in 2025 felt less like a surprise and more like a formality. Dallas won the lottery with low odds and immediately used the number 1 pick on Cooper Flagg, announcing to the league that their future after Luka was going to be built around an 18-year-old forward from Maine. He arrived carrying every label you can think of: the top prospect in the class, an immediate star, a generational wing, and the Mavericks did nothing to slow that down. From the moment Adam Silver called his name, Dallas treated him like the foundational piece of their future, not just another prospect to ease in off the back burner. The situation he walked into, though, was brutal. Kyrie Irving was still out rehabbing his torn ACL and, as the team later made official, would miss the entire 2025-26 season, which meant Dallas opened the year without a true starting point guard or veteran primary creator to make Flagg's transition easier. Jason Kidd responded by giving him an on-ball role he'd never had full-time at Duke or in high school, asking a teenager to organize NBA offense from day one against the best defenses in the world. Around him, the roster skewed big and awkward. Jumbo lineups, shaky shooting, and a team three-point percentage that sits down at 34.2%, dead last in the league, with multiple rotation players in the low to mid-30s from deep. Front court injuries only made it messier, forcing him to do even more in crowded spacing. His first few games reflect that learning curve. Over his opening 5 outings, he averaged roughly 13.4 points, 6.2 rebounds, and 2.8 assists in about 32 minutes, shooting well enough inside the arc, but barely clearing the mid-20s from 3. For most number 1 picks, that's a perfectly average start. For someone who came in with this level of hype, especially in the same class as other fast-starting rookies, it became one more reminder of how much responsibility he had inherited in Dallas before he was even 19. For the first few weeks, you could see Flagg thinking his way through possessions, bringing the ball up, trying to read the whole floor, and dealing with defenses that were loading up on him without having to respect much shooting around the arc. The talent was obvious, but the rhythm wasn't there yet. Dallas was asking him to be a primary engine and a learning rookie at the same time, which slowed down both his decision-making and the offense as a whole. The turning point came when the Mavericks finally simplified his life. Instead of forcing him to initiate every trip, they leaned into having a real point guard handle the setup duties and shifted Flagg into more of an attacking role. With someone else organizing the first action, he started catching the ball on the move, coming off screens, attacking tilted defenses, and cutting into open space instead of dribbling into a crowd. Once that change settled in, everything about his game sped up. From December through early February, over a 26-game stretch, his production jumped to 22.8 points, 6.7 rebounds, and 4.7 assists per night on 49.8% from the field, 33% from 3, and 80% at the line, with his true shooting up around 57.6%. His shot selection shifted toward paint touches, cuts and quick drives. The reads got cleaner, the turnovers stabilized, and you can feel the difference in how he plays now. Fewer possessions where he's pounding the ball at the top of the key, more where he's catching, ripping through, and getting downhill or finding the open man in 1 or 2 moves. When you zoom in on what Flagg is actually doing possession to possession, the numbers start to match the eye test. That 49-point night against Charlotte wasn't just a random heater. He went 20 for 29 from the field, added 10 rebounds and 3 assists, and set the NBA record for most points ever by a teenager while breaking Dallas's rookie scoring record in the process. He's now the youngest player in league history to record at least 40 points and 10 rebounds in a game, and the first rookie since Blake Griffin to post a 45-plus-12-plus line. Across the season, he's at about 20.3 points, 6.6 rebounds, and 4.2 assists per game, but the advanced numbers do an even better job of showing how quickly he's scaled up. His true shooting percentage is hovering around 57 to 58%, comfortably above the league average rookie wing, and his usage rate is already north of 26%, which is the kind of offensive load you usually see on established primary options. He's sitting on a player efficiency rating of 20 with a positive box plus-minus and an offensive BPM that leads his rookie class. And the on/off data shows Dallas scoring several points more per 100 possessions when he's on the floor compared to when he sits. On the floor, he looks like a 6'9" wing who can run in transition, attack mismatches, and make live dribble reads. He gets easy points by sprinting the lanes, then shifts into straight-line drives, mid-range pull-ups, and quick post work when the game slows down. Those 4+ assists a night come from collapsing defenses and kicking out or dropping off passes inside, not just swinging the ball around the perimeter. For opposing defenses, the problem is simple. You're already game planning for a teenager who scores at all 3 levels and creates for others like a primary option, and this is only year 1. The offense is loud, but the foundation of the Cooper Flagg scouting report was always what he could do defensively. Even as a rookie, the film shows the same traits he had at Duke and Montverde. He covers a ton of ground as a helper, rotates early, and gets his hands on the ball in ways that don't always show up as simple blocks or steals. He's already guarding up and down lineups, taking shifts on wings and bigs, crashing the glass, and cleaning up mistakes when teammates get beat at the point of attack. Quick guards can still catch him off balance, which is normal for a teenager, but his timing, length, and motor give Dallas a defensive ceiling they simply didn't have before. When it starts to feel unfair for a rookie is in the clutch. Tracking data has him near the top of the league in game-tying and go-ahead buckets this season, and no first-year player has finished a year leading the NBA in that category since those numbers started being recorded in the late 1990s. He's already top 5 in total clutch points, sitting in the same neighborhood as established All-NBA talent, and he's doing it on strong efficiency with a shot profile that leans heavily toward the rim and the line instead of just settling for tough jumpers. You see it in games like the Hornets and Jazz matchups. He's the one taking the big threes, attacking downhill when defenses tighten up, and living with the result. Put that together with his defensive impact, and you get a rookie already steering the biggest possessions of the night, taking on responsibilities teams usually hand to the franchise cornerstone. When you put everything together, the high school dominance, the Duke resume, the draft expectations in this first NBA season, Cooper Flagg already looks like the kind of player you build a franchise around. He's a 6'9" forward scoring efficiently, creating for others and holding up defensively, all while sitting at the center of every game plan opponents drop for Dallas. That profile is exactly why teams had him circled years before he shook Adam Silver's hand on draft night. Dallas's situation now just sharpens that picture. They're sitting near the bottom of the West and clearly closer to a retool than a real playoff push, which is why they moved off Anthony Davis in his timeline to open up more possessions, more usage, and more flexibility around Flagg. The trade signaled that every major decision from here on out is going to be made with his prime in mind. You can see the effect immediately. He's the unquestioned first option, the ball is in his hands when it matters, and lineups are being built to give him space and reps rather than to prop up older stars. As the roster around him gets cleaner and the Mavericks lean even harder into his strengths, the version of Cooper Flagg the rest of the league has to prepare for in a few years is going to be even more polished than the rookie they're already struggling against right now. If you made it this far, drop a like. Let me know how high you think Flagg's ceiling really is, and subscribe so you don't miss any more of our videos.